Hello and happy Friday and or Saturday, depending on what side of the planet you are on. Well, it is absolutely the end of the week and the start of the weekend. Thank you for the reminders, Fishnerd and Mark. It's hard to forget with two gentlemen screaming at me before I even go live. Not screaming, gently reminding, I would say. That was a misnomer. Definitely not screaming. It was friendly. But it's nice to see everyone. I hope everyone was having a good day and coming into the weekend nice. I wish I could tell you I had some really nice, soft, gentle, good, uplifting stories to ease into your weekend. But of course I don't, because this is True Crime and Legal Update. And tonight, well, I just got a bunch of bad boys. Yeah, bad, really bad. These bad boys. Yeah, we got these bad boys to talk about today. And there's just a little bit on each of them. But I wanted to just lump them all together and get it over with because I was tired of looking at the stuff, to tell you the truth. So I gave myself a little gift to get this over with. It just lump them all together. And move forward because I was like, you know. Eh. So welcome Shill and Fishnerd and Janae and Mark. Oh, hi Mark. I've missed you. It's good to see you. Hey Ryan. Nice to see you here too. Sean, Deep State Annex, Grace, Rocket Couch, Karen, Sean, everyone. Jasper coming in. Look at the trees. Nice to see you too. I hope everybody's having a good day. And hope everybody's got some really cool plans for the weekend or some chill or whatever, and you get to do whatever you want. Well, right now, we are going to talk about either Andrew Tate, Danny Masterson, or Keith Raniere, who it's been a while since we said anything about Keith Raniere. Well, anyway, what would you guys? I'm going to give you first shot. They're all bad. How bad do you want to be? Which one do you want to start with? Anybody. Either that or I'm going to roll the dice. There's been so much talk. Bring on the Tate. Yeah, okay. You were the first one to say. So, Mark, you get it. Oh, Masterson, and a Tate. Okay, how about this? Since Mark said Tate first and he spoke up, and then we'll do Masterson, okay? And we'll save Keith Raniere for last. So it looks like we're going in order. How convenient is that? Hey, Wrecker. Nice to see you, and thanks for the ordering. With these bad boys, I could use all the orders I could get, to tell you the truth. These guys, they're so frustrating. Like, everything that's going on with them is just so frustrating. But on that, let's start with Tate. All right, so we know the reason I wanted to talk about Tate today, Andrew Tate, and not just Andrew Tate, but the Tate brothers in general, it's because there's a lot of misinformation out there. And I don't blame them for wanting to get their side of the story out there, and people that support them that want to say what they want to say. That's all well and good. I believe in free speech, and I believe in put the stuff out there, and there's two sides to every story. We all know this, okay? And we support this, right? We know this, okay? But the stuff that's going on with Andrew Tate is just a little bit shady. I mean, his supporters are actually out there like there's no charges, okay? Like we've seen the Romanian indictment, right? We all got that, okay? We saw that indictment. We saw that charges. It's been national, the reporting on those charges. There is a case, and they are up on charges, okay? And in that indictment, it does have human trafficking. Sorry, Tate. It's just not what your supporters are saying, that there is no case of human trafficking. There are no cases involving a minor. That is the human trafficking charge. It is clearly laid out in the indictment that it is an underage woman, a minor. There's no doubt about that. Now, whether he's guilty of that, that still has to go to court. I agree about that. We cannot say he's guilty, and we don't. We say it's in the indictment. That's what he's being charged for. Okay, so we want to just clear up a few things. And we also want to talk about some real stupidity and some also very curious things that are going on. Last time we talked about Tate, I did inform you that there's a gag order now. The Romanian government has shut down the release of documentation in public notifications on the case based on filings that went back and forth. It was getting a little crazy. Okay, it was getting a little crazy. Okay, and I guess that Andrew Tate and Tristan and the two women would have a valid case to say that it was getting so publicized they wouldn't get a fair trial. Like if it was America, that would be true. The judge would more likely give them a gag order and shut it down. You know, there was also some witness intimidation, trying to get the names of people that were redacted from the indictment, the victims' names. Okay, because here's another bit of misinformation that is widely spread through Twitter and other platforms by supporters and just the ill-informed, that there are no victims. And yet Tate themselves on Tate News and Cobra Tate actually posted that the Romanian court had plastered their names all over the hallway when he went to court for his hearing. So if there are no victims, how did the names get all over the hallway? Or how were you able to make that damn post? You know, like they're talking out of both sides of their mouths, you know. Here's the other thing. Yes, Andrew Tate. Here's the one thing. People are saying he doesn't have his assets back. There is a delay in getting them back. And I'm not sure he has them back 100% right now because of the clamping down on information that's coming out. But what did happen in January is he won his first step appeal to overturn the lower court as to why they took those assets, because he's not guilty yet. Okay, and allowed him to refile to get them back in the lower court. So the higher court said, yes, you can refile. We agree with you. You should be able to petition to get them back, and sent him back down to the lower court to get them. Now, where it is right now in March, I don't know. Okay, well, this I do know. Every 60 days, he has to go through for judicial review on his monitoring for not being able to leave Romania. Now, they did lessen it up where he could actually move around where he lives, okay, but he does have to do check-ins and everything, and he's not allowed to leave, and he can't have his passport, and he has to stay. He's indicted on serious charges. That would be the same in almost any country. Like, you're up for charges and have to go to court. You're not allowed to free roam all over the place on criminal charges of this level. These are serious charges. Abuse, kidnapping, human trafficking, racketeering, even a criminal enterprise. Shall I go on? Like, it doesn't make any sense that he thinks he can leave Romania, but yet he's going to be petitioning. Now, he lost that bid last time the 60-day review came up. But curious enough, yesterday, March 7th, was the hearing for the 60-day review. And what we do know is last minute, it was postponed. And I think perhaps I know why. Let me introduce you to a friend of Tate's. Does anybody know the name Aiden Ross? Okay, Aiden Ross is he's an interesting figure on Kick right now, because he's not allowed to be on Twitch anymore, and I'm not sure he's putting anything out on his YouTube. He's quite the contrarian, okay? A little bit of an edgelord there, a little bit of ridiculousness, okay, going on with Aiden Ross. But he's very good friends with Andrew Tate. And I say this because Andrew Tate says this, okay? I don't want to put words in Andrew's mouth. That's why I pulled this tweet, because I remembered this from before, from a year ago, okay? That when he got arrested and he was put up there, he said there was only 4 family members allowed to visit him, and he added Aiden Ross, and they were very close, which is besides his lawyers, of course, like, and things like that. Okay. And the reason that I'm putting up there that they're close is I got to play you a clip of his kick stream the other night. Now, I'm not the only one talking about these. Some much larger commentary channels have already brought this out. It has been all over Twitter, if anybody was following, and other platforms. But this is a little weird. Okay, let me just play it for you. Hopefully it comes out really, really clear for you. Here we go. All right. Ready? Listen up.
Some shit, right? But yeah, it's fucked up. But it's peaking. It's fucking peaking, right? And yeah. So my announcement is, this is my announcement. And it's if you guys really want it. Andrew had hit me up. He said, "Hey, I'm gonna be leaving Romania soon and probably never coming back. If you want to come over and do a week of long streams and content before I leave, I think it'll be big." And I'm sorry, he said it's basically now or never. So and this is just, I told you guys this year, it's a week.
Well, did you guys catch that? Did you hear what I heard? And isn't it weird that the very next day, that was the day before the 7th, that was the day before, and the very next day, they moved the hearing a week away. A week away. No hearing that morning in Romania. Okay, no hearing for Andrew Tate and Tristan and the two women. Okay, moved to next week. You think maybe because Romania is getting their ducks in a row to say, what are you talking about, dude? Are you planning on leaving the country if we give you that money back? Now, that may mean if he's talking like this, perhaps he did get all of his assets back. And you know what? And under the law, quite easily, he's entitled, right? He's not guilty of anything yet. The reason they held the assets was they said that most of the money they could say, if it was being held because of the way it was earned through racketeering and violating Romanian law and not paying Romanian taxes, and they wanted to secure their penalties, interest, and what they were due in the money that they were due. Okay, which was standard practice. We do that here in America. Okay, you come up for racketeering and RICO, or you owe taxes or whatever, or they find your assets and they list them and they held them. Okay, that just happened in the Trump New York civil case with the state AG. Okay, they had a list of all the assets. They put it all in receivership while everything was going on until the guilty verdict. So then they could act. It's common practice. Now you're allowed to have money to do what you got to do. They may have released some of it. Okay, they were petitioning back and forth that some of the assets were not exactly in his name alone and blah, blah, blah. And there were legal things going back and forth that I have to admit he may have been entitled to get some of those assets back. I do believe it would be only fair. I mean, especially if the trial is going to be many whiles away. Okay, we don't know anything about a trial. We're still going through hearings. Okay, every 60 days they redo whether he's under judicial control to stay in the area. Okay, and like I said, that statement that Aiden Ross made, now that tweet has been verified. That's the reason I wanted to talk about Aiden's relationship with Andrew Tate is that I believe he did message him. I don't think Andrew Tate would be very happy that he released it that way, or is he? Do they want this out there as a rumor, as if the case has been dismissed or something? Or do they want it to give them credibility? I mean, Andrew Tate's been very active lately on the platforms, giving podcast interviews everywhere. And he's been very free in what he talks about, much more loose-lipped than he was when he was under the strict advice of his attorney to zip it a little bit, not give them any more ammunition against him. All right, now he's out there pushing hard. And that's what I think is so interesting. Now, I can't find anything coming out of Romania except for Andrew Tate's statements and this one by Aiden Ross right now. But I thought you all would be interested too, especially since they moved the hearing, which is concrete that we did find and that was provable. Okay, the Aiden Ross statement from Andrew Tate Well, for me, it's believable. So what's going on? What's going on with this case? Very, very interesting, and I thought I would bring it to you. Let me just check the comments before we move on, because really that's all I have on Tate. He lost his judicial hearing 60 days ago. He has to stay in Romania. As far as we know, until there's another hearing, he's not allowed to leave. He's not been allowed to leave. And that hearing has been moved. So we know it didn't happen. Okay. So, and he did win his partial appeal to get his assets back. So did he get enough money to get out? One of the reasons they keep him under judicial control is that he's a flight risk. He could be in jail for years, perhaps the rest of his life, based on the charges that are against him. And with that kind of money and to lose all of this, you would be considered a flight risk. Okay, it would be, looking at that kind of a sentence, looking at those kind of charges and the length before, it makes sense. I don't blame the court for wanting to keep him tied up, so to speak. Okay. Once you are indicted, you shouldn't be allowed to leave the jurisdiction. I agree with you. Okay. Romania is the biggest supplier of sex trafficked victims in Europe. Such a shocker that Tate chose to live there. Exactly. Exactly. Although there's rumor now that his favorite country is Dubai. Anyone want to guess why? Anyone? It just happens to be there's more criminals hiding out in Dubai than anywhere, you know? Yeah. He announced he's running. Yeah. Well, that's what Aiden Ross seems to be saying, that it's now or never, you know? The now or never. No idea what Tate thinks he's leaving. Exactly. How do you get out of charges like these? Like, did all of a sudden, after years of investigation, the last we heard from the Romanian government is that the investigation was still ongoing and there was possible new charges coming forward, additional charges, that Tate himself made comments on many platforms that said that there was speculation that more charges were coming and that they were coming at him even harder. Okay. Exactly. Gonna be hard for that ugly mug to get through any border crossing or customs checks, but I guess so. Exactly. Yep. You know what, Rocket Couch? That's what I was thinking. Isn't it funny that the actual that actual stream happens and then the hearing gets moved? I wonder if Romania knew about it. I did see on Twitter. You know, I follow there's an account called Murdered by Crayons that does a lot of tape posting and was responsible for bringing forward the indictment out of Romania. That is how I first got wind of it. And they actually said on there that people were reporting that stream to the Romanian government, that it was already done. People were actually complaining that, like, this is crazy. This guy is threatening to leave. And, you know, I hope they know about it, because, you know, he's going to be saying he's such a good boy, but he's such a bad, bad boy if he's actually telling people he's leaving. Okay. Also circulating was like a year-old video of an interview he did where he was actually, you know, bloviating. That's the word I will use for this. He actually bloviated all over the place about how the war room and everybody involved with the war room, you know, his high friends in high places, you know, these big guys, his pals, you know, how they actually could succeed in removing people from the country undetected, from Ukraine and other countries, you know, and was kind of bragging about it and saying how it was done and how they could do it, you know. And so that was old. I mean, you know, we all know that a lot of Andrew Tate, it's all just puffed up words and everything. That doesn't make you guilty because you talk smack and you talk crap and you say these things. You know, a friend of mine reminded me today that that's entertainment. You know, that's his shtick. That's what he does. You know, it doesn't make it true. And that's a valid statement. It's for entertainment purposes. But is that actually going to work in the court? That's another thing. Is it actually going to work in the court? Well, I can't wait to find out. And I don't know how we're going to find out with everything clamped down on the Romanian side, but I'm hoping it makes international news again when anything happens in the court, because I definitely want to keep on track of this one. Okay. Yep, Tate really thinks he's going to get off, and that is, yep, he does. Yep, and if it's not, there's something, of course, that's a private conversation. See, you guys confuse me. You talk about everything from everywhere else, and I'm like trying to pull up comments. So sorry if I put up something not related, guys. No extradition. You know, Dubai. You mean about Dubai? Yeah, like they like to have people with money over there. They like to make their money. Like actually, people can be quite successful hiding out over there. From what I've heard, I don't know personally. That's all rumor, and I'll admit that that's speculation. I got no documented proof of any of that, because how could there be? Seriously, you're hiding criminals. How could there be documented proof of it? Like nothing that I got anyway. Anyway. Dubai is 1940 South America by the sounds of it. Pretty much, Couch, you know, from what we hear. Yeah. Grace, thank you so much. Bloviating is my favorite one. You know what? And it does not fit like with what he does. Like he just like blows up and just out it comes. You know, there it goes. And by the way, Grace, thank you for giving me some information in regards to the next person we're going to talk about, Danny Masterson. I appreciate it. Hope all of us are doing well, family included, and looking forward to a sunny weekend. Yes, Jasper, for all of us. Thank you so much. I hope so for you too. What a nice sentiment. I like seeing it. Thank you. No worries, Mouse. You really dislike Tate? Yes. You know, he's got haters and lovers on both sides. People just hate him just for how he acts, you know. I'd have to say, you know, he is quite the character. And that brings both sides to the table on a regular basis, the haters and the lovers. But he's always quite interesting, which is why we're talking about it, right? And it's I mean, that's what I have on it. Like I don't even know where to go with the rest of it, because like it's very difficult to get information from a foreign country anyway. Like I finally found my way, you know, certain things in Australia, you know, certain things in the UK, like I can get there, you know, but when it comes to Romania, that's a far way to go, and there's a language barrier there. All the documents, by the way, are in Romanian. Everything has to be translated. Okay, it's crazy. It's crazy. Unless somebody gets their, you know, involved in the case, gets their English translation and to give to you to show you, like, you know, you have to go by the translators. And exactly, which was why it took so long to get the indictment out, because everything was I'd have to give credit to those that were actually doing it, because they did redact everything possible to Romanian addresses and things like that. Anything that Romania would actually be upset about being released was missing. Like, you know, it was really just the charges in what they say kind of happened, you know, with the names removed. So okay, you guys ready for the next one? What do you think? Okay, we're going to go in order. So let's go back. Let's bring up remember him? Remember him? Danny Masterson. Danny Masterson's been in the news for a bit, but not really in the mainstream media. Okay. 2 weeks ago, they started circulating with several YouTubers that Danny Masterson got attacked in prison because he was getting moved around, this, that, and the other thing. Danny was in jeopardy. There were several, like, I'm not going to mention the names of the YouTubers. There were some, they were quite large, much larger than me, a lot of these channels. But they weren't involved with Scientology, the ones that I was looking at, okay? There was a Scientology, an ex-Scientologist channel. They did report on it and all. But they all kept saying, sources from inside the prison that for their safety cannot be named, sources who cannot come forward. But none of them said they were the legal sources. None of them said they were from the prison its actual self, except for like inmates in the prison or guards that could lose their job or stuff like that. No one would put out a name or a source. And that's not really that uncommon. So I'm not really complaining about that. But it's all of the, if you watched some of these videos, you could tell that they were just adding so much more to the story than was there. Because how could a source tell you like who hit who and how many people were there and where was the bruise and where was this and where was that? And like there's no records. Because the one thing you can confirm in a prison is if people go to the infirmary, where their location in the prison is and their status. Okay, you are able to confirm all of that. But let's just talk about like Danny briefly here. Like in the beginning, we know that Danny was sentenced to 30 years. Okay, we know that Judge Almeida sentenced Danny to 30 years. In that at that time he had gone, he was in a holding area at the beginning. All right, and then he had to go to what was the name of the place? It was where they actually, you go where they're going. Oh, North Kern State Prison, that was it. And he was there for quite a few months and that's standard, okay? And while you're there, you go through, like they review the records, they review the kind of prisoner that you are, the status of your charges and placement, okay? And what I can document for you all, and it's being reported by some of the mass media, not all. The mass media is split on this, okay? Some are saying that Danny was actually moved from the prison he was in because he got attacked and his life was threatened, okay? But the other side of the coin is that what they can confirm is that while Danny was in North Kern State Prison, which is the area before they send you to your permanent placement, they go through a process that's documented as standard procedure where they pick two places, a first choice and a second choice, to where you will be assigned to go for your sentence, for your 30-year sentence, okay? So Danny's convicted sentence of 30 years, the two places that he was the two places he picked. Number one was going to be Men's Colony West Facility, which is a medium placement for the type of charges that he has. Okay. And the second one was Corcoran, which is a maximum security, the one where Charles Manson was, in like really heavy duty kind of people. Okay. When it came time for Danny Masterson's transfer, there was no opening at Men's Colony. End of story. He went to Corcoran, maximum state, not because he was a murderer and on death row. Okay. He should have been placed in medium security. Okay. At Corcoran, he was a high risk because of the type of charges that were on him. He was monitored. He did spend a lot of time in his cell. That's all been documented. But he went to Corcoran State Prison not because he was maximum security. He went to Corcoran because it was number 2 and there was no opening at the time, which happens often from what they are documenting as procedure, until there was an opening. And that there was no assault on Danny Masterson. He's not covered in bruises. The story of Danny Masterson actually transitioning to get out of jail, to get out of Corcoran, was the most hysterical one that I heard. I mean, that's kind of taking it too far. I have no love of Danny Masterson. We all know that. I think this case stunk. I think he's a bad, bad guy. That's why he's in the bad boy stream. Okay. But to come out on YouTube and start talking about him transitioning and taking female hormones so that they place him somewhere else. Can I just raise my hand? I know you can't see me because of just an avatar, but I call bullshit. Okay. And on top of bullshit, I call clicks and views. And I'm sorry. Like, that's just going too far. And this is the one time you're going to hear me stick up for Danny Masterson. I tell you, I do not believe that Danny Masterson is transitioning to get out of maximum security. I didn't believe it from the start. I think it's the most ridiculous thing I ever heard. I think that people are just going too far. Well, that kind of misinformation makes true crime a joke, and I get offended. Okay, and so on that point, one of the only times you'll hear me stick up for Masterson on that. That's taking it too far, people. Leave the man's sexuality alone. He's a depraved individual. He's wrong. He's got his own sexuality issues, but they ain't involved in transitioning. Okay, he's not wearing lipstick to get out of jail. Okay, I'm just saying. It was the most ridiculous thing I heard of. But they're all having their fun and they're making their clicks and views and they're telling their stories. And I just want to remind everybody that not one of them had any documented proof of anything, not even the policy. They couldn't even pull up a prison policy that if you get beat, you get transferred, because it doesn't exist, because people get beat in prison all the time and they don't get transferred. Okay. And that would go against prison mentality. He's there to serve his sentence, not to be treated with kid gloves because he was an actor or he's so famous or Scientology. None of that matters in prison at all. The only thing that matters is standard protocol, and not one of those YouTubers could bring that up. Just saying. Yeah, we don't, Mark. We absolutely, Mark says we don't know what goes through the minds of deranged people, and this is so true. Okay, so this is Corcoran, and they actually, this is actually a maximum security prison. This is where the really, really bad people. I mean, Manson was there, and we know he was. Yeah, we know about him, right? Okay, well, here's where he is now. A more sprawling, more opportunity, medium security prison, California Men's Colony, which was the first choice to send on the list after he came from North Kern, where they did the evaluation. This was choice number 1, no opening. He goes to choice number 2, Corcoran. As soon as there was an opening, that is the state's official, that is the prison system's official reason for why he was transferred. Oops, there was an opening in where he should be. So he went because that's where he should have been. That makes sense to me, right? I don't know about you guys. Does that make sense to you? I mean, come on. More so than he got jumped in his transitioning. I mean, seriously. Okay. Let me see what we got. That's bull, although nary a gray on his head. Suspicious. This is true. Maybe he's dyeing his hair to look better, Juju. Is that what you mean? I don't know. I did, Grace. It's coming up next. Thank you very much. I did hear. I've got more on Danny. As if that's not enough. Okay. You know what hit today? Hector Medina Jr. has just been charged with wire fraud, conspiracy, and like shakedown and all this stuff for going to George Santos and Danny Masterson and saying, hey, I work as a DA, and if you pay me, I could get all your charges reversed. I could make evidence disappear. I could bribe the judge. Like, you name it, this guy said it. Okay. It's a guy out of Texas. He voluntarily turned himself in after a couple of months investigation. Back in the summer, they were opening, spring and summer, they opened up this investigation. He had contacted Danny Masterson and George Santos by email, by messages, saying, hey, all you have to do is send me, for George Santos, he actually put in writing, if you sent me $90,000, I could get all your charges dismissed. Now, anybody who doesn't know George Santos, he's the representative who has like 30 indicted charges on him for criminal enterprise things, bribery, misappropriation of funds, lying under oath, perjury, you name it. Okay, like the list is too long. And even though I do a little bit of political and I do love legal cases, that crap, I want nothing to do with that. That was just like, that's just too much for me. But anyway, he is indicted and he is facing charges. Okay, and he's he's got some cases that have been settled, in some cases where he has been convicted, but it's ongoing. And this guy actually contacted him like he was some kind of a super connected guy, and he's gonna like get him off on everything. He also contacted Danny Masterson. Okay, and with Danny Masterson, Danny was like, nope, he just turned it in. He said, this guy's like too crazy. Like, no. Now, Danny did appeal to try to go out on bail. Okay, remember, and that did get turned down by Judge Charlene Omena. She did, and interesting enough, her reasoning was because Danny is going through a divorce and he has no reason to stay here while he's under appeal, since he knows he'll be in jail for most of his natural life. The enticement for him to run was great. So she kept him in jail. Even he's a flight risk. She said it straight out. If he wins for a retrial, against his retrial verdict, during appeal, we'll see. But she said that it was too much of a risk based on the fact that he was no longer had his stable family life. He's going through a divorce. He's already been convicted. He knows he's not up for parole until 48. He's 47. He'll be 66. No, it's yeah. And then rightly so. Judge Almeida called it on that one. The other thing, besides this with Hector Medina, which is ridiculous, I've linked you articles below. If you want a good laugh, go and look. There's even an indictment. If you look at the tiny URL there, that is from an article on The Hill, and The Hill actually put the indictment of everything that happened with Hector Medina. Now, he did not only contact Danny Masterson and George Santos, he actually contacted another musician who was actually put in jail in June of 2028, arrested in June. Now, I don't know if he's in jail, but he was arrested in June of 2023. I'm sorry, I said 28, but I meant 23. And then another actor whose family member was arrested. He contacted them too. He's trying to shake down most of these famous people that have money. They'd have all these charges, celebrity crime, and he's going for the big bucks. Hector Medina Jr. said he needed this money because he's got over $100,000 in gambling debts, and he was afraid he was going to get killed. So why not just break the law hurriedly? So, the one thing he's going to get is, well, he admitted to it already. So I'm pretty sure he's going to go through a trial unless they can just throw it all out. I don't see how he's going to get away with it. So he's going to get free room and board and some protection, maybe some kind of protection against the racketeers that he owes the money to and for gambling debts. But we'll see how that goes. We'll see how that goes. Anyway. Grace, I hope that's the one you're talking about. I hope that's what you're talking about, because that hit last night and today, my inbox. If it's not, just let me know, okay? Because you really are the one who gave me the heads up on this prison stuff. And wow, was that a wild ride? And I know it must have been frustrating that I didn't talk about it since you first gave it to me, but I had to check it all out, and I'm glad I did, because if I had jumped on that train, I'd be eating crow right now too, because it's not in my nature to jump on the hype anyway. You know me. I don't care about being first. I don't care what's popular out there. If I talk about it, I want to try to get the information straight, and there's usually something interesting about it. I'm still talking about Masterson, not because he got transferred from jail. Okay, I'm talking about Masterson because I was interested in the first trial because of how long the offenses were between when he got actually arrested, statute of limitations, or the changing of the verbiage for some laws in certain states in regards to assault, the testimony of the Jane Does, the whole process, the Scientology angle of it, where they tried to use their religious what they call their religious procedures in their protocols for arbitration and everything, and their book of rules to get out of the case. And then when it got entered into the case, try to get it thrown out because it was getting used against them, because they also had in there that you weren't allowed to testify against higher up members, and that they actually had a protocol for these offenses. And they kind of built a culture there to make things acceptable that weren't. I mean, that was the true interest in the case, not the big name, not the sensationalism. Who wants to talk about the actual charges? This was not pleasant for me at all, but the legal part of it and things that need to change in regards to consent and things like that. It was important. And on that note, it's also noted that Danny Masterson is not out of the woods. He's got more civil lawsuits against him. He is the co-defendant in a civil case by the women who also put the criminal, charges against him. They got a civil lawsuit for the harassment and everything against the church and David Miscavige, certainly. And they just recently made a motion, okay, to actually make Scientology a criminal enterprise due to its pattern of racketeering activity. So I'm following that case. That would be huge. Okay. This lawsuit that Danny is also named in because of the ongoing harassment that they did. It's a civil suit, but this civil suit could actually change laws and change standings should it go through. Because once it's on the record that these things happened, it can be used to go forward to let's just say loosen the grip of Scientology's standing as a religious institute in our country here in America. It's already lost some footholds in other countries, and I'll be talking about that at a later date. I don't want to turn this into a Scientology stream, but this is actually quite interesting. However, that amended complaint, we don't know if it's going to be allowed yet by the Superior Court judge who's in charge. So I will be bringing more on it. Okay, this is the Bixler lawsuit. It involves all three of the Jane Does from the assault trial. I'm going to call it assault. We all know it was something else, but that criminal trial. Okay, and it also there are other victims coming forward and being added to that case. Okay, so it's quite, and several yes, Grace, I saw that there are several cities that have reversed tax exempt status. Not there is one here in America, but there's countries that have reversed it and have limited how they're allowed to report things. What does it say behind the comment on the screen? Oh, I'm sorry. Let me take that down. It says that Medina, meaning Hector Medina Jr., is charged for wire fraud because he contacted both George Santos and Danny Masterson, who are pictured here, in regards to trying to get their charges reversed and tried to seduce money from them, for fraud. Wire fraud to get money to eliminate evidence and bribe judges, etc., etc., etc. And nice to see you, Angela. Thank you for joining us. Like, it's nice to see you here. Karen, if I didn't say hi, I just saw your name. And Jin, I think I said hi. And thanks for all those freaking. This is great. Wait. I gotta get my StreamYards thing to match up to the YouTube one. The lying poser politician is going to do all that. Yup. Yeah, for that. Yeah. No, the poser is actually being offered the deal. George Santos actually met up with Hector Medina, who's just as bad as George Santos as far as bribery and like, I'll get rid of the evidence and all of that. Yeah, I see the irony there, Jin. Exactly, Juju. What's he going to do? How would he do that? A fire in the records department? People are idiots. Exactly. And this guy actually thought they weren't going to. These guys are already in enough trouble. Like, they're not going to turn him in? Like, really? Seriously? Yeah, this is true. This is true. Danny's too covered in thetans to run that fast. I get you, Grace. It is kind of funny. And that's a funny comment. I like it. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, but he is a flight risk. I mean, you can understand why she did not allow him bail, which would be very unusual to be allowed on bail. after you're convicted. I mean, look at Hannah Gutierrez. They didn't leave her out on her bail while she goes through appeal and sentencing. She's not even formally sentenced yet, and they left her in jail because as the judge said, a murder happened. Like somebody lost their life. This is serious. Oh, and by the way, let me correct myself. When she was facing all 3 charges that included the evidence tampering, it was reported through several legal channels that it would be up to 3 years. But now that it's only the involuntary manslaughter and not even the aggravated type, it's 18 months, the same as Alec Baldwin will be facing. So she's not going to get any more than him unless the judge finds aggravating circumstances and adds to it. Okay, but because I had said 3 years in my trial coverage when they read the verdict, I wanted to correct that because I did get additional information afterwards. And you know me, I don't want the misinformation out there. And I will note the video. I have a note right here to do it after the stream because that came forward just a little while ago. Ada wanted to correct it. All right, so back to Danny. All right, so we got everything covered with Danny, kind of sort of where we are with the lawsuits on the civil end of it, but there will be more coming with that. You ready for the last one? This is someone we have not talked about in a while. Let me check that there's a Janae says that Scientology can hide him forever if he gets out. That would be true, except for it does look that Scientology has disavowed him. His wife divorced him. And it looks like Scientology isn't saying a word about him anymore. I don't know if he has Scientology support anymore. If for one thing, he's done a lot to actually bring a lot of bad press to them. Number 2, there's still civil lawsuits going on that he's tied to. And now David Miscavige has been served. Yes, finally. And they're not too happy right now. But then you never know because, when have we ever known Scientology to be honest about anything? They could be supporting him greatly behind the scenes. Who knows? But I doubt that they would take him in and hide him. Psst. Hey, y'all, hit that like button or smack that button on your choice. Just do it. Thank you, Mousy. Riled them up. Riled them up. I appreciate it. Thank you. It would be so huge. I agree with you, Grace. I want to see, I do true crime because I like to watch the legal. I like to see how these cases do have some effect on the changing of laws. E. Jean Carroll's was a civil lawsuit against Trump, and it actually changed the language of the law on rape in New York. And I was like, hell to the yeah on that one because it broadened the scope of what it actually was to how it actually happens and who it actually happens to. Okay. And it was necessary. It was necessary. Let's see if there's any more questions before I go on to. If I missed your question, put it in again, because I will admit I am the StreamYard's chat and the YouTube chat are not in the same place right now. True, Scientology is the one who brainwashed him. Let's just say that together they worked on a culture that fit both of their deranged mentalities. Yeah, I said it. There is a mentality there that's a bit deranged, in my humble opinion. I admit it's not a medical or a legal or scientific opinion of any nature, just a bear's opinion. Yeah, they fit their deranged thinking on things. It was copacetic with each other. Let's just say that. Raniere dabbled in Scientology too. Yes, he did, Janae. And let's get to that. Let's get to that. Okay, let me get this guy up. All right, where's my whoop? Where it is. Okay. Remember Keith Raniere. He was the creator, leader of NXIVM, which also had the subgroup in it, DOS. 120 years this man is facing, okay? 120 years. All right. But he's been petitioning, okay? And the reason we're talking about him today is that Keith Raniere has been petitioning the court saying he was framed, especially on, okay, it's 120 years, okay? He did a lot. Well, he's contesting the one charge where child pornography was mentioned. There was one of the women victims was only 15 years old when he had pretty pictures of her, okay, which he is claiming were altered, okay, and that it's all a setup because she wasn't 15. However, on the counter end of that, and give him his due grace, he's allowed to file whatever he wants. I mean, you know, shall I be a little cheeky and say he's got all the time in the world right now to file any damn thing he wants? Look it up, make the file, make the claim, do what he wants. He's got nothing but free time there. 120 years in jail, been there for a while now. There's no way he's getting out of New York, whatever he wants to do in his free time, that's his business. If he wants to do this, fine. He filed a complaint. Okay. He files a complaint. He's giving, talk. He made an actual appeal saying, that he's in an Arizona prison under, oh boy. He actually appealed the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit, and they actually affirmed his conviction and sentencing in New York. Okay, not even under in Arizona, but through the appeals court in Manhattan, where most of these charges came for. They actually supported the conviction and sentence, and he has nothing there. Okay, but he has continued to push that he wants a new trial because he said the FBI tampered with those images to frame him of child pornography images. Okay, he's saying that their actual expert, okay, misrepresented the whole thing, and his testimony should be thrown out. But here's the thing. Okay, he also says that she wasn't young. She wasn't a minor. Okay, the FBI has sworn testimony and proof on file from the minor herself, who says at the age of that picture how old she was. She documented it for them. That is how the charge went through, and that is how this got overturned, because the record itself is contradictory to what Keith Raniere is actually saying. Okay. And by the way, when they presented that evidence in court, where was his lawyer? If this is actually what he believes, that she was not 15 at the time and that they doctor it and none of it's true, why didn't that come up in discovery, in pretrial intervention, in all of these court hearings that you have before? And it was never tossed out there during the whole trial at all. But like I said, he's got 120 years worth of free time to think of all this, and this is the angle he's going to use. Well, unfortunately for him, this victim grew up and became part of the Dominus Obsequiosorium, with the DOS group, which was the sex slave cult that was associated with NXIVM. Okay, that had slaves and masters, in this big pyramid-shaped organization that Raniere was running, okay, that he was the Grand Master of. There are so many other victims. Well, he's worried about this one, okay? This victim was actually branded later, like many of them, in her pelvic area with his initials. This is a sick man, okay? His attorney, Arthur Adala, he argued this motion to Judge Garofus that they wrongly overlooked two critical important pieces of evidence, that there was secret evidence and the conclusions from an FBI senior computer science expert, and that they can't even make an appeal because the FBI is refusing to turn over how he came to these conclusions, not the evidence that was presented. They want his work product. The judge laughed him out of the appeal, literally. He said, this is circular thinking, nonsensical. You can't even make your argument. You want me to actually give you everything to try to nitpick, to try to find an argument so that you can appeal? That's your appeal? You see what I'm saying? Like this is his appeal. You need to give me all the stuff so I can dig through it to find out if there's actually anything to appeal. Because as the judge reminded Keith Raniere and his attorney, Mr. Adala, you didn't object to any of this during the trial, and it was there. You didn't object to the science expert witness from the FBI sworn testimony from the victim, or the evidence being presented, the photograph in general. You did not. You had it all before trial, during discovery. You had it for years before we actually sat down and tried you, and you got convicted of 120 years. This is nonsensical, circular. We're not making your case for you. Bye-bye. That's it. And I know there's a little light in my voice right now because I actually did find this comical, that this man, this master genius, this ruler of the world who thought he could outthink everyone. Because Grace is right. He looked to Scientology. He looked to a lot of major cults, okay? And he took all of the little mind-twisting things. And yet he thought he was better than them all, and he made his own. And he was going to do it better. And he really messed up a lot of people. He took bright, intelligent, well-connected, business-oriented, great-thinking women and turned them into just babbling slaves at the end. You know, in all of the techniques were quite manipulative. They were physical. They were mental. They were just like constant, deprived of food, deprived of self-esteem. They had special handshakes and procedures. And anyway, if you would like to know more about that, I have a whole series on NXIVM that I did with hereticals. That's over there on a playlist. Okay, and I'm sure Chris will allow me to link the playlist in. I think I will for my channel, because this is going to keep coming up, because apparently Keith Raniere has a lot of free time while he sits in jail, or to think of these ridiculous things to keep us rather amused. If there was anything legal about it, I'd give him due credit. I mean, I gave Masterson due credit, right? You know, that when they do their legal maneuverings, I got to say, Scientology, the stuff that they throw out, hey, they pay their lawyers well, and their lawyers do their job. Man, do they do their job. You got to give them credit, you know. I would give credit where credit is due, but unfortunately, Keith Raniere is getting none from me. This was ridiculous. He is actually filed in December to try to compel the government to produce all of the free thinking that this expert used, everything, his work product, all of the pictures and everything, because we need to nitpick it to find out if it was true, because you said so, you know. So this was the judge's statement. Mr. Raniere, again, does not cite any law showing he has a right to the information that he requested. And Mr. Raniere, again, does not demonstrate that elemental fairness should lead the court to compel the government to grant him access to this information. Mr. Raniere's counsel had an opportunity to review and test the veracity of all of the photographic evidence prior to trial, and did not. Case closed. It's an elegant. I just love when judges speak. So, you know, that judge had some snark in there. Could you tell? Could you tell? So anyway, this was, wow. He has one more remaining motion for a new trial. And when that was, and I haven't even begin to delve into that one, but I will, and I will let you know, because I'm pretty sure that was going to get overturned too. But it's it's a little comical. And when you're talking about bad boys, you know, you do need a little bit of you do need a little bit. Okay, this was just all of the reporting that came out through the like. But the judge was Nicholas Garofis. Probably mangling that. I do apologize, Judge. Excellent judge. Okay, but both of those motions to actually get to new trial and to get to the evidence were overturned, and he was denied. Okay. And that was the quote that I just read you. But on that, like, that is it for tonight, everybody. Like, that's what I had. Let me go through for questions to see if you all, that's our hour. All right. He got his women to mess with the Dalai Lama's gatekeeper dude and got him thrown out. Wow, you know what? I remember all of that. Like they were trying to get the Dalai Lama over under their prestige and everything over to America. And they got really upset when he did the tour anyway, and he kind of like slighted them because the Dalai Lama did not like Keith Raniere. He did not, Janae. Like I remember covering that during when I was doing the review. I'm marking papers over on one screen and running here and there, and I have something to say. I'm sorry, Janae. I was making you crazy. I don't, Mousy, I don't know. They're just a little bit crazy. I guess he's got a lot of time. You know. Did YouTube just delete your message? I don't know, Aaron. I don't see another message from you. You want to retype it? There is nothing deleted from the mods because I can see that. And nothing was deleted. It could be held, but I won't find that until after the stream. It wasn't even vulgar for you. I mean, it couldn't be vulgar for this channel. Everybody knows how it is here. Like, I wouldn't boot you on anything like that. But YouTube does randomly do stuff like that. So if it was something you want to say, go ahead and say it again. Then, you know, we'll address it. Grace says she didn't see anything either. Like, and it doesn't seem to be any deletions, you know. Yeah, it would be. Mark, I just saw your comment. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it on this side because that's kind of funny. Because I agree with you. This word actually, yes, it would have been funny if his name was Charles Ulrich Nieder Tanner. It would, because he definitely is, Mark. And I do believe if I had been doing Cody at that time, he would have won an award. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. What he did to so many people. He needs to be branded on his forehead. Exactly, Grace. I mean, these women have scars, emotional scars, physical scars, some of them in jail. Allison Mack, Nancy Salzman, several. But, you know, he still has like 5 total supporters. You know, Nikki Klein is one of them, and I'm so surprised. They're supporting him. And one of the rich women, you know, the sisters from, you know, the big supporters there, from the heiresses, like one of them is actually still supporting him with financial money for the lawyers because all of his assets were going towards other suits for wrongful. Yeah, I mean, 120 years, just call it lifetimes a life. Yes, lifetimes 2, right, Mousy? He got all the time in the world. Mm-hmm. If he truly believed Scientology, he would have admitted his crimes, but he knew he broke the law. You mean Danny? Yes, true. But Scientology doesn't admit their crimes either. So it's kind of a, you know, hypocrisy. It's one of those like, we write it all down, but we don't have to do what it says. Yes, Sarah Brofman. Claire and Sarah, Janae, you're correct. Yes, the heiresses. You know, I read a blank on the last name, but then as soon as you put it in there, I remember exactly who they are. Mm-hmm. One faced charges. The other one just kindly just gives them all kinds of money. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. Well, I hope that you found my bad boy stream entertaining. If not, at least we dispelled some of the misinformation going around. And we know, like, you know, there still could be something to a little of it. Like, I don't know what's going on with Andrew Tate. You know, if he shows up in America or the UK, he was petitioning the court to travel to the UK and Europe countries. You know, he is a US and a UK citizen, but he is indicted in Romania and they don't have to let him out. You know what, Mrs. Cassandra, I am toying with covering that. By the way, another lawsuit against him dropped. This one by a musician, a gentleman that worked with him for quite some time. Some very salacious stuff in there. But you know what? I don't know if I want to get into this. This is all like, I don't see any legal things that we haven't covered already. In regards to that case, it just is salacious and scandalous and nasty. Nasty, 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 all of it. And Although I will say that from the first time the first case dropped, it did get me into rapper drill music and gang associations. And I know Ricker, if he's listening right now, he's probably going to fall out of his chair laughing, because we've been watching documentaries all over the world about rap music and gang associations, and how these rappers are in gangs, and it gets to be really, really popular. And then how they start going against each other, and then the crime rates and everything. And one of them was in UK. I did not know how huge it was there. We followed the one in here in Chicago, with King Von and several others. And then it went over to the UK, and now there's going to be another country soon. We just covered Sweden. Of all places. Okay, gang problems in Sweden, in rap, in all of this. It was crazy. Swedish rappers involved in gangs, in what was going on. So we're doing the rapper gang tour around the world right now, or just gathering information. And what enticed me to that was the P Diddy case. Like Sean Combs, actually is from New York. Yeah, he went to private school. He was a organizer during that whole thing too. I mean, there's been stories forever. He's an East Coaster. Like, there's a lot to say about that. There's been rumors all along. But like I said, I don't know if it's something we want to cover as far as a criminal. Like, there's no criminal charges. It's all civil. Janae, when I was making my thumbnail, that's what I was thinking of. Bad boys, what you going to do? Hopefully spend a really long time in jail. That's what they're going to do. You mean P. Diddy's lyrics? I'll check that out, Mrs. Kinsandra. Like, I'd like to know your thoughts on it, what you've been hearing and what you've been thinking. Yeah. All right. I think we're going to wrap it up now. I hope everybody has a great weekend. I will have you know that this is one of my only successful banner shows. Like, that banner came on right away and it's still there. So thank you, Fish Nerd and Mark, for getting me on the ball right out of the box, like making sure I did it. And thank you all for being here and contributing to the conversation. When you guys actually talk to me about this stuff, that actually keeps me going. It makes me want to investigate more and get all the facts and bring more to you. So I really enjoy it. And I kind of get the idea you're kind of enjoying it too. The fact that you guys are all here doing it, and I appreciate it. I really, really do. Thank you to my mods. As I say always, you guys are awesome. You rock. You make this so easy for me. Thank you for everybody in the chat for contributing to this conversation, even though it was kind of gritty with these bad boys. Like, they're not the best. Nothing really cheery here. A little bit of humor, though. I mean, the whole thing with Hector Medina Jr. out of Texas, like that fraudster, that was comical for me. I couldn't believe that he actually, and now he just admits the whole thing and turned himself. I mean, he knew they were looking for him when they indicted him, and he just walked in there and turned it in. He gave the interview. Yep, I did it. I needed the money. Just like, okay, easy case, easy case, I'll tell you what. Hey, you know what? Fishner does a good job, Mark, but it's always nice to have more people because I miss comments. Fishner will tell you he must have said it like 15 times in a chat once, and I missed it. Like, I just like going on doing my business, So the more the merrier, Exactly, Grace. Keep the nerd on his toes. He's doing a good job, He's doing a good job, but keep him on his toes, Mark. And it was good to see you, Mark. It was. And I hope everybody has a great weekend. I'll talk to you all soon. But that's it. Like, we're out of here now. Okay. You guys have a great night. And Mrs. Cassandra and I will be back next week. Occasionally, I have overflow on Friday, so we can't stream, and she's very gracious about it. But we will be back next week. So if you've got ideas for naming our whatever stream that is that we've been doing, that craziness, that chaotic whatever that we've been doing, make sure you hit the back of the community tab. There is a prizes up for grabs, So give us your comments. If you've got thumbnail ideas, you've got little quip ideas, let us know. There's a prize up. There's a prize up for grabs, Everyone can share Mark Caesar. Are we all sharing you, Mark? I like that idea. I like that. Long as I don't get shut out, I feel good. I feel good. We're willing to share. Y'all have a good night. Thank you.